Now, talking of management, Blake and Mouton, and to be honest, the action-centred leadership that John Adair comes up with, are really talking about the tasks that people do and people. They're talking about what the manager spends their time on. What they don't do is they don't really talk about how the manager does anything. Now, how the manager does something is what we've got when we talk about the Ashridge model, which is to do with the theories of leadership. Now, the Ashridge model says, how do you communicate things with your staff? So, for example, you can spend a lot of time with your staff. You can be very much a people-based manager. Yeah, maybe like a country club manager. But the Ashridge model says, when you're spending time with your people, how do you communicate with them? There's 4 different ways that managers communicate with people, according to Ashridge. First of all, tells people. The telling stage is simply giving people orders. You will do this, get on and do it. I am the boss, I am telling you what to do, now go on and do it. That's the end of it. Sells is where we give people orders, but then we explain them. Particularly, we explain why. Here is your task, this is why it's important. Third thing, consults. The manager asks the worker, what do you think? But then the manager actually makes a decision. So, I will ask you what you think. Now you've given me your ideas, I will put them together with my ideas and I will come up with a decision that you are going to do. But at least I talked to you about it. The final one, the joins, is where you make a joint decision. So the manager says, let's make the decision together. Now, those are obviously 4 very, very, very different ways of communicating things, ranging from do this because I've told you, the tells, do this because I've told you, but this is why I want you to do it, the sells. What do you think we should do? Now I will make a decision, the consults. And what do you think that we should do, the joins? Which of those 4 is best? And obviously, there is no straight answer. It all depends on the circumstances. So, for example, if there is a task that needs doing urgently, probably the tells approach would be the best. This needs to be done urgently, get on and do it. If it's a very complicated task, if, for example, the worker is feeling a little bit demotivated, then maybe the best thing to do is to explain why they're doing something. That could be part of the training that you give somebody. The consults bit is good because maybe the manager deliberately wants to get a range of opinions before they do anything. Maybe, for example, the manager is talking to workers and the workers deal with customers. So the manager has to make a decision to do with customers. They ask the workers because the workers meet the customers. So what do you think the customers are interested in? And finally, the joins one. We will make a joint decision together. Again, it may well be that the workers have got a lot of experience in something. So again, in the exam, 4 possible things that you could have. Examiner gives you 4 of them. 1 of them actually isn't in that model at all. The examiner makes something up. Or alternatively, again, here is a manager. They are doing something. They are talking to their staff. This is what they say to the staff. Which one of these 4 are they doing? So the Ashridge model talks particularly about how we do something. It doesn't talk about what we do. It talks about how we do it. Now, there are a number of theories that you have in this particular section. So you've already had Adair, we've had Blake and Mouton, we've had the Ashridge model. There are a number of them. Fiedler, I feel, is the most complicated out of all of them because it's the least intuitive. It's not an obvious theory, whereas I think Blake and Mouton is fairly obvious. We have all come across managers who are more task-focused. We've come across managers who are more country club-type managers. I think the Ashridge model is obvious. There are times our boss explains things. There are times our boss simply says, get on and do something. But Fiedler is a little bit more complicated. What Fiedler is talking about is that you have to adapt your leadership style depending on what the circumstances are. Up to now, most of the theorists have pretty much said you need to keep doing the same thing. You need to worry about the tasks, you need to worry about the people. Whereas Fiedler says you need to completely change the way that you manage depending on your situation. It's sometimes known as the situational theories of leadership. So, first of all, there are three things that Fiedler noted when he went out to look at managers in real life. First of all, the leader-stroke-member relations simply means, does the leader get on with the workers? It does not mean that they perhaps have to be friendly with the workers. That's not quite what Fiedler means. But it's things like, will the workers listen to what the leader says? Do they have respect for the leader? The second thing is the task structure. We can have a structured task and we can have an unstructured task. Now, a structured task simply means that there is one way to go about doing something. You have got a task, you do this, followed by this, followed by this, followed by this. If you follow those 4 steps, you will complete the task. Now, I suppose a good example of a structured task might be something like calculating a variance when you are doing paper F2. So if you're doing a material price variance, what do? You calculate the same things over and over and over again. You take the standard price, you take the actual price, you take the actual quantity. So there are a set of steps that you go through, and if you follow the steps, you get the answer. Similarly, if you're doing F3, if you're doing financial accounting and you're calculating the depreciation, you will work out how much is an asset worth, you work out what the useful economic life is, you work out how much you're going to depreciate it each year. There's steps to follow, and if you follow them in the right order, you will get the right answer. That's a structured task. An unstructured task is where there is no particular way of doing something. Now, obviously, this is quite a long way in the future, but one of the things that you will notice when you're studying the ACCA is that the further you get through the exams, the more unstructured the questions become. So for a lot of the F-level papers, you can learn what to do. For a lot of the P-level papers that you'll get to later on, you can't learn what to do. Each question is different. So one of the things that Fiedler says is the task structured? Follow these steps, or is it unstructured? And finally, how much power have they got? High power or low power? Remember, we've already said, we saw it previously, that power is the ability to get people to do what you want. Somebody with a lot of power has got a lot of ability to influence people. So maybe they can reward people, maybe they can punish people, maybe they're a role model as well, maybe they're also an expert in something. They've got lots of different kinds of power. They're high power. Low power means it's difficult to convince people what to do. So what Fiedler says is, have a look and see what is going on. Have a look and see what the situation is. For example, it says, or what Fiedler says, is that if you have got so, for example, what Fiedler says, if you have got an extreme situation, for example, the workers don't particularly like or respect you. For example, you don't have a lot of power over the workers. The best thing to do is to adopt a psychologically distant style. What that means is basically focus on the tasks. So, I know that you don't respect me. I know that I don't have a lot of ability to influence you. Here is the task. Please get on and do it. I'm just going to get out of the way. So focus on the tasks. On the other hand, if you get on well with the workers, if they like you, if you've got a lot of power over them, then be friendly towards them. The workers will respond to that. So it depends what the circumstances are. That second one, a psychologically close style, would basically mean that we focus on the people. So make sure the people are happy and they will work. They will work because they respect the boss, and also the boss has the ability to influence them. So get to know them better. Psychologically distant, just tell them what to do and don't try and be friends with them. So Fiedler's trying to say you may have to change what you do depending on what the situation is.